In this video, I'm going to cover some of the basic instructions on how to open, connect to data, and utilize GIS using Hexagon's GeoMedia Professional. The first thing you want to do is connect to Blackboard because the data are housed in learning modules on Blackboard. So connect to Blackboard through My AUM, log in. Once you get to the home screen, left click on Learning Modules. And this is the student view. Yours may be a little bit different, but this is what your wallpaper is going to look like. Left click on GIS Demo. This should launch a download window. The GIS demo data are in zip format. Zip format preserves all of the folder structures and file structures of the original folder that you zip up, and you will be zipping folders to submit your work with GeoMedia. So the first thing we want to do is it automatically goes to the radio button Save File. We're going to left click to say OK. It's going to pull up your computer disk format, and you're going to left click on the C drive. The protocol for saving data to your C drive and for submitting all lab work is that you create a folder for each lab. In that folder, you will place all of the data and all of the geo workspaces, we'll get to that in a minute, and data warehouses that you use to complete the lab. When you're finished with the lab and save the geo workspace, in other words, save your work, you will save everything to that folder. At any time, do not change the location of any data that's associated with your lab work. So we're going to create a new folder. The format, naming convention for that folder should be your surname. Mine's Weinmiller. And in this case, we're going to do intro. We're going to left click on that folder, open it up, and click Save. It's already in there. Don't know why I got that button other than I might have double clicked it twice, but it's already in there. So cancel if you get a second save. Now you're going to open your computer to the folders and files, left click on the C drive. I'm going to scroll down to the folder I created, Weinmiller Intro, double left click, and the zip file's in there. All you have to do in a Windows platform is double left click and it'll open that. Now here's the convention for data storage within your lab folder. Once you name your lab folder, your surname and the lab number, or in this case intro, all data should be in that folder, not 2 folders deep, 3 folders deep, or whatever. The only exception to that is if you are working with a ArcInfo or ArcGIS, ArcMap shapefile, where you want to keep the data for the shapefile within another folder, you can do that. So how are we going to get it into this folder, Weinmiller Intro? I'm going to double left click on the GIS demo folder. I'm going to hit my control button, hold it, and also hit A, the key A. Then I'm going to control C, that copies, control A selects. Then I'm going to go back up to the file location of Weinmiller Intro, left click one more time, and then control V as in Victor, and it copies the selected copied data into that folder. So this is what your project folder or lab folder should look like at that time. So we're going to minimize that. So now we have the data in there. There are three file types in here. This is US sample data GWS. If you don't have viewing file extensions in your folder options checked, you will only see the icon in US sample data, but the orange icon is GeoMedia. This one, US sample data, is a Microsoft Access database. That's the database we'll be working with throughout this semester. Microsoft Access database is a collection point for a variety of tables. Some of them have geometry, which is how map entities are located in a GIS, and some of them have attributes. So, and you will get this key icon that shows you that's US sample data. This is an image. It's actually a TIFF image, tagged information file, and you'll get this photo icon for that. There's one if it's a JPEG, it's a little bit different, but those are the file types. We will also be using Microsoft Excel spreadsheets at some point, and they have a unique look to them as well. So these are the data types we're going to use in this demo. So we're going to minimize this right now. I'm going to minimize my web browser, and we're going to navigate to all programs, scroll down to Hexagon GeoMedia Desktop 2018 and left click on GeoMedia Professional. Orange icon. That will launch GeoMedia Desktop 2018. That's the version that you either downloaded and installed on your home laptop or desktop, or it's the same version on VLab if you downloaded the client and are connecting to VLab. There's a video that I will post in with this introductory lecture that shows you how to the look and connection in VLab. GeoMedia 2018 takes a while to load, so you're going to get this spinning blue circle for a little bit until the software loads. So take a drink of water, rest for just a moment. While that's happening, I'm going to roll up here and show you this portion of your GeoMedia desktop, which is called the ribbon, and you'll be working in there launching various operations. This is the first window that you get once GeoMedia is launched, and what we're going to do in all labs, this is virtually all labs, we're going to left click on blank Geo Workspace radio button. So left click there and left click OK. If I say click and do not say left click, that means left click. If you have to right click on anything, I will make sure I express that. So what we have here is a legend. This is a map window, and this is the map window where all the map objects are displayed. So all the geometry is displayed, all the features in the GIS. This legend, if it's blank, will mean that you're going to have a blank map window as well. First thing I like to do is I like to see as much white space as I can. So if you move your pointer around, you'll notice you could left click and hold and stretch that down. But to do it in one operation, just get in the corner, point to it, you'll get a diagonal arrow, double-ended, left click and hold, and expand it out to fill the whole screen. You could maximize this, but I don't like to see that. I like to see map windows because at some point in time you might be working with more than one map window. Now you notice everything is white space. And if we go to Manage Data tab on the ribbon and left click, and we go to the left here to Warehouse and left click on the down arrow, it might take a moment for it to work. You'll notice Warehouse Connections, New Warehouse Connection, and New Warehouse. Those are the three buttons you'll be using. I'm going to left click on Warehouse Connections. Might take a minute. So this is the Warehouse Connections window, and there's nothing in there. That means we have no connections to any data to display in this GIS. So we're going to close that. We're going to left click on the down arrow, and we're going to establish a new warehouse connection by left clicking. There are all sorts of options for data types that we can connect to. We're going to connect to a Microsoft Access database, the same one that was in your file folder that you downloaded and copied into the folder. We're going to rename that, and you have to tell GeoMedia what kind of data it's reading. It's like, what language am I speaking? So we're going to call this US sample. And later on in the semester, you'll want to rename all of these connections to give you an idea of what's in that connection, especially when you have 5 or 6 of these Access databases connected. ArcView is a different type of format. Those are shape files. Access read-only means that you can work with the data, but you can't change any of the features. We will rarely, if ever, do that. We can connect to CAD files, all sorts of files. So Access US sample. Next thing the GIS needs to know is, where is that file? So we're going to left click the Browse button. Okay, it defaults to warehouses on the C drive. When you install the software, it establishes 2 default file folders. One is called Geo Workspaces. That's what this whole map window that you're looking at right now is, a Geo Workspace. The warehouses are the data locations. They're both established on the C drive. You never, ever want to use the warehouses folder. That's your original data set. So what we need to do is left click on the drop down and go to the C drive, left click. I'm going to scroll down to my folder, Weinmiller Intro, double left click, and we're going to highlight by left clicking US sample data and open it. Once we do that, we left click OK. Okay, nothing's happened. The reasons nothing's happened is because we haven't put anything in the legend. So let's go ahead and left click on the Home tab at the ribbon. And about halfway over, you'll see an icon that says Legends. Left click the drop down. And we're going to left click Add Legend Entry. We'll be working with Add Thematic Legend Entry in the future. So left click Add Legend Entries. This is the Add Legend Entries window. This shows all your connections. So if I had 5 data connections, some of them ArcView, whatever, they'll be listed by name, they'll be listed by the type. And if you left click on this plus, it'll expand that to show you what features are in there. There are 3 basic feature types that we will be using in GIS. Those are point features. Point features are best for mapping cities at a very small scale, large scale. Polygons or areas are best for mapping counties or states, something that has some aerial component that you can view at a particular scale. And line features, therefore interstates, rivers, any sort of linear feature. We also see in here street name labels. That's a text feature, that icon. And finally, Intergraph considers images to be features as well. That's sort of new. So your three basic feature types that you will be looking at and working with are points, lines, and polygons. Then you do have a text feature and a image feature, but the three basic: points, lines, and polygons. What we're going to display by left clicking and putting a check in the box are left click on cities, left click on counties, left click on states, and let's left click on rivers. So those are the features. Left click OK. So there's the lower United States below the 59th parallel. And we have city features, that's a point. We have rivers, that's a line. Counties are polygons, and states are polygons. So what we're going to do is change some of the characteristics of the features that appear in this map window. Before we do that, I'd like you to look down here on the bottom bar, and it says lon lat D:(M:(S). That means the longitude is listed first, then the latitude in degrees, minutes, and seconds. So wherever your pointer rolls around on the screen, or whatever you're pointing to, if you look down here at the readout, that is the correct latitude and longitude of whatever that feature is you're looking at. Based on whatever projection we're using, and this is a conic projection, I can tell by the curvature of that, we're getting a fairly good readout of latitude and longitude. There is a certain projection that's better for latitude and longitude, but basically what you're looking at in this map window is a virtual real globe with a graticule, latitude and longitude projection system and coordinate system that you can locate anything in the United States and locate and reveal its latitude and longitude. Now there are a few conventions that I'd like you to obey. They're cartographic rules, if you will, or principles regarding the colors and some, to a degree, the size of what you're looking at on this window. Cities, the point features way too large. The blue's not bad. I'd probably like to see them black, but that's fine. What we're going to do to change that size is, this is the legend entry, and this is the legend symbol, this little point. Double left click. Okay, this is the legend entry properties. You'll notice the color blue is on here as the selected color, and you'll notice the size is 5 point. If we left click on the drop down and change that to 3 by left clicking, we can left click on apply button to get a good look at it beforehand and click OK if that's satisfactory. That's not too bad. You can see the megalopolis here, that all of these cities are merged together. That's the name of that megalopolis is Boss Wash. Okay, so color is good on it. Rivers, double left click on the symbol. Rivers should be blue. It's water. We think of water as blue. The line weight we might want to put up to 1. Apply. Okay. Now you can see the rivers stand out much better. Counties, let's double left click on the symbol. And you'll notice that the boundary is green. That is a no-no for a couple reasons. One is that when you select a feature in this map window to pull up the attribute table, it's going to select in green. So it's difficult to see what's selected, what feature is selected. So we're going to double left click on that. or single left click. We're going to change that color to black. Black button, 0, click OK, apply. OK. So now looks a little better. The final one is states, double left click. It's burgundy. We don't do burgundy. So we can do that one in dark blue. OK. And leave its weight OK. And there we go. Now, a couple buttons up here. If you look at the top, over to the right, you'll see a magnifying lens with a plus. That's to zoom in. If you left click on that, pull down into the center of your map window and left click once, it will zoom in. If you have a particular area you want to look at, like the Chicago area up here, I'm going to left click and hold and let go, and it'll zoom right into that area. Then if I right click and then go in and highlight a city, one of the city features, if I double left click on that, this is the attribute table for that particular city. It's in the cities table. It's Waukegan, Illinois, population of, these are attributes. So the point is a feature, and these are the attributes of that feature that are in the database. Certainly not all inclusive. They're just some of the attributes that come with this database. So left click OK to get out of that screen. So you had to look at the data table, but in a different way. Now, you see this fit. We want to left click on that. It will fit everything back into your map window. If we want to zoom out, we left click on the magnifier with the minus sign and left click, and we can zoom out. Go back up. If we want to escape from this particular mode that we're in, which is zoom out, just right click or hit the escape button. We'll left click on fit again. If we want to slide whatever we're looking at, north, south, east, west, left click on the pan button, you get the little hand, left click and hold, and you can move it around all over your map window. Once again, hit escape key or right click to get out of that mode and fit. Okay, now what I'd like to do is, if we're looking at a map, we need to have a couple other non-feature items in this window to make it a true map in the geographical sense. So if we go up to Manage Data, and we're going to look at, well, actually, let's go to Toolbox first. Go to Toolbox first on that tab, and you'll notice all the way to the extreme left, Legend is highlighted. That means you have a legend entry. We want a north arrow, so left click on that button, and this is your north arrow. For now, this is fine. You'll notice that north is on a diagonal because we're looking at a sphere. So by the time you get all the way to the pool, that north meridian converges with all other meridians on the sphere. Okay, we also want a scale bar. So left click on the scale bar. That tells us the relationship of distances in this particular rendering of the United States, lower states, and their real world counterparts. So if we measure distances across there, this is in kilometers. In the United States, unfortunately, we do not work in kilometers, which is a much simpler system. So in order to change the units, we want to double left click on that scale bar, intervals and units tab. Down here it says label kilometers, interval unit kilometer. We're going to change that by left click and go to miles. This changes to miles. For a style, we're going to, instead of single block center line, I like double block. The default value is red. Click OK. So there's your scale bar. So what that means is if you have a distance between these 2 points, that's 750 miles on the ground. So now we have a scale bar and a north arrow in the map window. Alrighty. The other feature that I would like to show you with regard to the legend is, suppose I don't want to see cities. I right click on cities, go over to display off and turn it off. Right click again, display on. I can also left click on states and hold and push it all the way up to the top. That creates a selectable feature hierarchy. What that means is that what's on the top is most selectable. So if you notice, while I'm rolling around on here, even though we got cities and all that, you'll notice that the boundary of Alabama is highlighted. If I left clicked once and click 1, because that's the one, it turns green. And then I can look at Alabama's attributes that are in the database. So I'm going to OK for that. I'm going to left click out here to get out of that selectable layer. The other thing about the hierarchy is that if I double left click on the symbol for states, I can just put a check and fill. You can select a color for fill from here, but I'm just going to leave it light gray, 56. OK. You can also set the boundary width. You can down as low as, I believe, 0.025, which is really thin, and we'll deal with that a little bit later. We're going to apply and OK. Now you notice you can't see anything else in this map, any other feature, unless it's like located right on the coast. In order to see those features, we can left click and hold and pull it down below all the others. And now we have a nice gray background at the state level. So that is all about hierarchy and fill. If we wanted to fill counties, double left click on counties. We're going to select fill. We're going to left click once on the color button, and let's make them a light tan, 71, OK, apply. Now you notice you can't see the states anymore because it is one slot up on the legend hierarchy. Okay, let's push states back up there by left click, push it all the way up there. And suppose you don't know the names of all the states, or you know the names of the states, but you're not so sure where they're located. Or you just want to create a map where you're showing state labels. We're going to go to Vector, tab, out toward the right, text and labels, left click, insert label, left click. Okay, this is similar to the feature tab that we were looking at before when we added features or legend entries. Left click the plus to expand, and we want to put state names in there. So how do we do that? We select states by left clicking on that, even though there are state name labels. And what do we want to label? We want to label the name. So we scroll down to state name, highlight that. It gives us some options here. For alignment, we're going to do center, center. What that means is that there's a text node that locates all labels in relationship to features. So the text node for center, center places that label in the center north, south, and east, west of the area feature you're labeling. If it's a point feature, it would place it right on top of the point feature. So in that instance, we do center left, which would place the text node to the left, centered up and down, and the label itself, the text would be out to the right. I don't like this text style, so I'm going to left click on that button, and I'm going to change it by just clicking the drop down and starting to type Times New Roman. It'll pull it down there. Left click to highlight it. And let's make it about a 6-point. Bold. Maybe go 5-point. OK. And OK. And there's your state labels. Alrighty. Now what we're going to do is we're going to mine some data from US sample and put it in a new warehouse that we create. So we're going to left click to get back to manage data. And we're going to left click on warehouse dropdown. We're going to create a new warehouse. Left click. Here you want to select access template. Not this one, not GeoPackage. Access template, new. Now you'll notice again it wants to save it in a default warehouse folder in the C drive. Drop down, go to the C drive, scroll down to your folder. We're going to call this one Alabama. Excuse me. And save. Okay, now we've created that folder. Let's go ahead and go to Manage Data, Features, and left click on that. You'll notice now we have two sets of data. One is Access US Sample, has a lot of things in it, features. Alabama has nothing, so we're going to close that. We're going to stay in Manage Data. No, we're not. We're going to go to Analysis. We're going to do an attribute query to query out all of the counties where state name equals Alabama. So that's called a attribute query. So let's left click. We got Analysis, Attribute Query, left click. Select Features in. We're going to go Access US Sample and expand that. There's nothing in Alabama. We're going to left click on Counties. We're going to left click the Filter button. That gives you all the attributes in the counties table. And we're going to scroll down to State Name. Left click to highlight that and put it down there by left clicking this down arrow. State name. The operator we're using is equal. We're basically creating an SQL statement. So counties where state name equals, show values, left click on that button. It says processing will take longer for large data sets. Do you want to continue? Basically what it's saying is if there's 1 million county names, it's going to take a long time to load them. You want to say yes. Right here is Alabama. If we wanted Mississippi, I could just type an M and it'd get there, but we're going to go to A. Left click to highlight and put it down there. So basically what this query is going to do is it's going to show me all the counties within the US sample database where the state name is equal to Alabama. Click OK. Okay, this says attribute query of counties. Let's just rename that Alabama underscore counties. Why did I do that? Because ultimately that will be a feature name, and feature names cannot have operators, so percentage, characters, asterisks, diagonals, anything like that. And if you want a space, you have to put an underscore. Display query in the data window, we'll leave that there. This is only a query. And we'll take it out of the map window. I really don't want to show it in there right at the moment. It's going to show in data window number 1 and it'll pop up right away. There you are. There's all 67 Alabama counties. Great. I'm going to leave that go, close it. That's your data window. And by the way, if you clicked on a county, what you're seeing is this table, but it's transposed so it makes sense. So population and white populations below that, black populations below that, and so on and so forth. Let's close this. Okay, so that's one query. Let's do another attribute query because we want a boundary around it. And this time we're going to select the states feature, filter it, go down to state name, left click the arrow to put it down there, equals, left click show values, yes, Alabama, put it down there. This is going to pull out all the states where the state name is Alabama. Hopefully there's only one in this data set. Okay. Once you take the check out of display query and map window, this will stay the same. And we're just going to call this one Alabama. That way I can tell these queries apart. Click OK. There's only one. There's Alabama, and the attributes associated with that will close that. Alrighty. Now we created a new warehouse. How do we get those features from these queries into that Microsoft Access database? So basically what you're creating is a brand new database that only has Alabama counties, because that's all you want to work with. You don't want all of these other states to appear in your map window when you're working with it. So let's go ahead and go back to Manage Data, roll over all the way almost to the right, Output to Feature Classes. Left click the button. Okay, your queries will appear in queries. So you left click to expand it, and we have Alabama counties, and we have Alabama. You'll notice that label of states is in there because we can create labels in two different ways. We can create them as features, so they're movable, or we can create them as a query and they're fixed in position, but it's not really a feature at that point. So we're going to output Alabama and Alabama counties, and the target connection is the warehouse we created, Alabama. You could select US sample, but why would you do that? You want to put it in Alabama. And here, if the checkbox says display target feature classes in map window, they will appear in the map window. Let's click OK. We're getting this message that the output process will result in 2 feature classes. Do you want to continue? Yes. Output complete. OK. And you'll notice now we have Alabama down here. Let's go ahead, and they will be at the top. And the number to the right of that is the number of features in the feature class. We know that there are 67 counties in Alabama. We know there are 49 states in this particular database. And that 49th state, there's actually 48 lower, but the District of Columbia is in there as well. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and left click on labels of states, hold my shift key in the legend entry, left click on counties, right click display off. Then I'm going to go to home, or I can go up here on this upper menu bar and fit all. So now all we have are Alabama counties. Remember the cartographic principle. Double left click on Alabama. And let's change it to dark blue. Okay, that's just the boundary. And double left click on the counties. And they're black, so that's fine. Okay. Now you notice that it's tilted. That's because of the projection we're using. If I wanted to get a straight up and down, I would change the projection. How could I do that? Go to Home. And go to Coordinate System. It's projection. The projection space is currently Albert's equal area. That's preserving the area. We're going to left click on that, scroll down to Universal Transverse Mercator, left click, Projection parameters. The state of Alabama has the central meridian for zone 16 running right through it. It's in the northern hemisphere. So we'll change this to 16, click OK, and it straightens it out. The reason is because your viewpoint perspective right now is the central meridian of zone 16, and if you were looking at even on a sphere, it would go absolutely north-south for the most part. Okay, so we've changed the projection. If we want to put a label on these features, and these are features now, if we go into Manage Data, Features, Alabama, you notice, now has a drop-down, and there are the two features. Let's close this. Okay, labels are in vector again. Left-click on there. Roll out to text and labels. Left-click. Insert label. Label feature in. Left-click. You're in US sample. Minimize that. You want to expand that and left-click on Alabama counties. So we're in Alabama counties. And we want to scroll down to county name. Left-click. So that's the attribute, county name, of the feature, Alabama County. Left-click on the Style button again, and drop down times. And we're going to set this one for 6. Bold. Okay. Okay. Ooh, way too big. So how do I change that? All you have to do is double left click on the symbol for the text. And let's change it to about a 4. Better. So now all the counties have a label. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and do what we call a thematic map. We're going to go to Home. We're going to, so the Home tab, left click on Legends, left click on Add Thematic Legend Entry. Input feature, you always have to be aware of this. Left click, Alabama counties. And what kind of thematic are we going to do? A thematic displays the range of data in a particular attribute. So we're going to do a range thematic by left clicking here. The attribute we're going to classify is annual rain. So we're going to left click on annual rainfall. And we're going to classify. We're going to use equal. Let's use equal range for now. And we're going to try and get 6 ranges out of the data. So the beginning value, if we look here, is 53. And the ending value is 64. What's the difference between equal range and equal count? Equal count takes the number of features, if there's 67, and you decide to do 10 ranges. There'd basically be 6 to 7 counties in each color group, each range. If you do equal range, it takes the high and low value and divides it by the number of ranges. So they look entirely different, especially if data are skewed. So we're going to do equal range, 6, click OK. And we got 6 of them here. We have 6. So the base style you see is burgundy. We want a black boundary. And we want these to range from a hue and saturation from low to high. So if I were going to do this, we're talking about rainfall. High rainfall, first of all, rainfall should be blue. Low rainfall would be light blue. So we'll make that fill for the lowest value a very light blue. Some would call that purple, call me colorblind. Click OK, and then select the highest range, double left click, and let's make that dark blue. by left clicking. Okay. Okay. So now we have a low of light blue, high of dark blue. I'm just going to right click out here and tell it to ramp the colors. Click OK. And there's your average annual rainfall by county in the state of Alabama. If you want the labels above it, left click and push them up there until that little blue line appears. There's your counties. Now you notice in this, the county names are difficult to read as black, so let's double left click on them. And let's make them another color that might be a little bit more easy to pick out, like this ugly yellow. Oh yeah, there you go. A little bit easier to see. Now, so I have this thematic map, and I want to test a hypothesis. Well, my hypothesis is that there are more Hispanics. Well, let's try something else first. Let's do large and small cities. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do another thematic with city size. And my hypothesis is that, I don't know, larger cities are in areas where there's higher amounts of rainfall. Silly hypothesis, but let's try it. So we're going to go and do another thematic. So we're going to go to Legends, add thematic legend entry by left clicking. And this time, instead of Alabama counties, we're going to do, well, actually, what we have to do here is I'm going to try, nope, can't do that right now because we got to get those out there. So let's cancel this right for the moment, and let's go up and do another attribute query. Let's pick cities in US sample, filter, where state name, left click, put it down there, equals, show values, yes, Alabama, put them down there, okay. And we don't want to display them again, we're going to output them again, and these we're going to call Alabama cities. Underscore cities. And we're going to click OK. We're going to see them in the data window. There's the cities. And we're going to actually be mapping population over here, total population. Then we have to go back into Manage Data, go to Output Feature Classes, Queries, Alabama Cities. We're going to put it in Alabama. Okay. Yes. They're going to display. There they are. Don't like those dots. Double left click. The color of them, the size of them. We're going to go to 3. Color. Let's do maybe a lighter gray might show up. Okay. Apply. Yes. Except for here, the light gray. So let's do something else. Let's go with, I don't use this very often, but okay. Apply, red. Okay, now we can see all the cities. Well, if we looked at the cities, we can clearly see that Jefferson County has more cities than any other county. Now, does that mean there aren't any towns there? No. The cutoff for this is 10,000, population of 10,000. So these are all cities with population above 10,000. That doesn't mean there's not a lot more towns in Alabama with population below 10,000. So what we're going to do now is do a thematic. So I'm going to turn this off, display off, by right clicking here, display off. Okay, let's go into Home, Legend, add thematic. Let's do Alabama cities, it's there now. And we're going to arrange thematic. And we're going to do population. Okay, we're going to classify this, and let's do 6 ranges. And we're going to do equal range. No, let's do, yes, let's leave it equal range and see what happens. Alrighty, now we have 6 points. So let's double left click on the style, and we'll change it to something crazy. A lower population would be a lower intensity color. Let's use this in here. I don't like using this pastels, but I will. 101 with a size of 3. Okay, and let's double left click the highest value color. I'm going to go 101 was right there, I believe. Yep. Let's go down here to the darkest value, or somewhere in here. Okay. And let's make this one 24. Too big. Let's go back to about a 20. Okay. So we're going to go from a low of this tiny little pink to a high of that. We're going to right click out here in the white space, ramp colors, right click, ramp sizes. And let's let it go. So now how about my hypothesis? It looks like, with the exception of Montgomery, which is the capital of the state, that in fact higher population density cities are in areas that experience more rain. Is that significant? Probably not. Okay. One other thing that I'd like to show you operation is measure distance. So left click on measure distance. Linear distance. You'll notice that it's set for meters as the units here. I'm going to left click and push this off to the side. And left click on this little icon here that's actually projection. And units and formats. We're going to scroll down to distance. And instead of meters, we want miles. And precision, we could go 0.1. Let's go 2 digits. Click OK. So now it's linear miles. If I wanted to measure the distance, you'll notice I just left click. I'm going to zoom in a little bit first. Well, this will be okay. Let's left click from this point right here and draw a line across here. You'll notice that that's 204.84 miles across that area. The next leg, you can see as I stretch out, changes in distance. And if I left click to just go straight up the border to the top and left clicked, that'd be 190.86, and they would total 395.70. Hit escape, and we get all that out of there. Okay, suppose this is your lab. This is what I asked you to do. What we're going to do is we're going to go up to the save icon at the top. It's defaulting to Geo Workspaces. We're going to left click, go to the C drive, go to our folder, left click, double left click Weinmiller Intro, and we're going to name this Weinmiller Demo. When you're working in labs, you'll be naming it Weinmiller or your surname, Lab 0102, save. Now, once you save this, it's saved, and if you reopen it, it'll look just like this. To prove my point, I'm going to close this now. I'm going to go to my C drive in my folder. There it is, Weinmiller Demo, double left click. Takes a while to load, so take your break, sip of water, get your Coke, take a bite of your cheeseburger, whatever you have to do. Still loading. There you go. Same view you left. One other feature I'd like to show you is, let's go to add show windows, drop down, new data window. Suppose I wanted to look at the data for Alabama cities. Click OK, and that's a data window. Once again, the feature is a row and all the attributes about it. So the attributes would be ID number, city name, population, white pop, black pop, Hispanic population, Asian population, medium age male, medium age female, blah, blah, blah. Only the data that are provided by, in this instance, the designer of US sample would be included in here. Later in the semester, you'll be able to modify this and add a lot more data, make calculations, do all sorts of operations with this. And look for contingencies, overlaps, what features are inside what features, lots of things that take advantage of topological theory. So let's close this. I'm not going to save anything, and I'm going to close this again. Not going to save. Okay, how do you submit to me? You go to the C drive. This is the folder I want to see. So the first thing I want to do is open it up again. And this is the original data. I'm going to right-click on that after I've completed all my work and delete it. So I don't need the zipped folder. We're going to go back to the C drive. And Miller intro is what I want to zip up. On the folder, not inside it. I don't want to highlight everything. I'll right-click. I'm going to let's try this again. Right-click, send to compressed zipped folder. If you have a Windows operating system, this will work. Left-click. So it's compressing up everything in your folder. There it is, Miller intro zip. Okay, I'm going to just for ease send that to my desktop. Just drag it onto my desktop. I'm going to close this. I'm going to go back into Blackboard. This, by the way, I'm using 3950. If you're in 6350, all of this works the same. A button is a button is a button. Whether you're a graduate student or undergraduate student, all buttons work the same. We're going to go down to Mail, left click. I have no notice, so I'm going to create a message. Left click on create a message. Left click on to. I'm going to send this to myself. I highlight who I want to send it to, and that's what you're going to do. Send it to me. Put me over in the right. The subject, Demo Lab. Just type something in there like attached. Okay, here's the attachment, browse. I'm going to go to my desktop. There's the zip. Left click, open. So it's zipped up, then it's attached, and you always do this in Blackboard. Do not send this in regular email, and submit. It'll take a minute because it's uploading all those data. It didn't get to me yet. Didn't get to me yet, but I'm going to click the send. And Demo Lab, I'm going to left click on this, and you'll see Weinmiller Intro Zip. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to right click. This is what I do with your labs. Save link as. I'm going to go to my C drive, and I'm going to save it in a folder, Weinmiller Intro. So I'm just going to copy this. And I'm going to go into my Weinmiller Intro folder and rename it because I need to. I'm just going to call this Weinmiller Intro Old. All right. I'm going to make me a new folder, Weinmiller Intro. And you'll notice that it has to be exactly the same as that. Exactly the same as your file folder, otherwise we'll have file path issues. I'm going to save it. Okay. I'm going to go into that folder. Weinmiller Intro. There it is. Double left click. Double left click. I'll take all this out. Control A, Control C, go back to my folder, Weinmiller Intro, which will be your folder at that time with your name on it. Okay, so I have that. GeoMedia is closed, right? I'm going to double left click on Weinmiller Demo and show you that whatever you send to me is either going to open or not open. The error that I normally receive is called file path error, meaning that once you establish the links to the data in particular folders, if you move data around into another folder, GeoMedia is looking for it in the folder name that it was originally saved to, originally established in. So if you change any of the parameters, rename your folder after you've saved your Geo workspace, that's not a good thing. So you should always be thinking about file path. Is Professor Weinmiller going to be able to open this? So let's take a look at this and see if in fact it got through the mail system, the zipping, and replicates exactly what I did in the GIS environment. So let's give this a second. And unless I did something wrong, you're going to see the same screen that you saw when I saved these data sets in this Geo workspace. So the Geo workspace itself, this window that you're looking at right now, or we'll look at in a minute, is basically a template. Basically a template where you select what you want to see in the map window. This is how I grade. I grade based on what you send me. Okay, looks like we're about ready to open. There you go. Looks exactly the same as it did before. Exactly the same as it did before. Now, I can mess with this. I can actually left click on Manage Data. I can look at what you did. There's your two warehouses. I can go up into analysis. I can left click. There's the queries you did. I can look at the properties of the queries. State name equals Alabama. So that's how I grade. I can't think of anything else to go over in this demo lab, but this should get you up and started. Once you start working in lab 1, there'll be an instructional video just like this one that'll take you step by step through. The labs start out with point and click instructions. As we move through the labs from lab 1 to 2 to 3 and to 4, I will begin to assume that if I say create a warehouse, you know how to do it. Create a new warehouse. If I say create a new warehouse connection, I'll assume you know how to do that. If I say change the symbol color, I'll assume you know how to do that and won't tell you what to click. In the first few labs, I tell you what to click. So basically, some of these operations, by the time you get to lab 3 and 4, should be what I refer about as muscle energy. Well, that's it for this first lab demonstration. Go ahead, download the demo and practice, and send me your practice work. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. You can play around with it, change colors, do whatever you want, and submit it to me within the next week. So that's it for now, and I'll see you in the next video.